the Pioneer viewers, we continue to bring you developments regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. As you know, we've been sharing the latest news and analysis with you since the beginning of the war. War periods are periods when the human life becomes difficult in every aspect. It is not possible to understand the emotions shared by the people living through the war without experiencing it. There have been times in history when the law did not work in wars, but after the war ended, the criminals were tried. The international system has determined the rules even for the war. Treaties and agreements between the states have established a certain procedure for the war. In addition to these, the limits of the war has been also determined. Issues such as not targeting civilians in the wars for whatever reason and preventing excessive use of force have been set out in the certain framework by the international law. It is the duty of the political authorities, especially the head of states, to play the war according to the rules and to ensure that it is conducted accordingly. It has been more than 2 years since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. During this time, many violations of international law have been identified. International mechanisms have taken serious steps to bring these violations to justice. The recent developments show that many senior commanders in the Russian army may face major penalties in the future. The fact that the trials are being held while the war is going on also shows the international system's support for Ukraine. The increasing number of Ukrainian attacks in the recent days also brings important gains. Recently, the Ukrainian army carried out a shock attack. After the attack, a tank and a large amount of equipment belonging to the Russian troops were destroyed by the Ukrainian army. Russian troops, who have suffered many casualties in recent Ukrainian attacks, are trying to make up for their mistakes, but they cannot gain an advantage against the Ukrainian army. Now, if you are ready, let's analyze the latest developments together. As the Pioneer, we continue to report on Russia-Ukraine war. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. I also read all your comments on our videos. Please continue to share your ideas about our content in the comments for this. Let's start if you are ready. The Pioneer reports. The decisions taken in The Hague, which came to the agenda with the meeting organized in the past days, made a rapid entry into the agenda. An example that concerns not only the countries involved in the war, but also the whole world is the international courts. The International Criminal Court based in The Hague, Netherlands, has issued arrest warrants for the 2 Russian military commanders. The International Criminal Court said Lieutenant General Silsky Kubalish and Admiral Viktor Sokolov are allegedly responsible for a number of war crimes, including directing attacks on the civilian objects following the attacks on the Ukrainian electricity infrastructure in the winter of 2022-2023. A human rights lawyer involved in the war crimes investigations in Ukraine said that there was a policy of targeting civilians in Russia's full-scale invasion. Kubilash, one of the commanders on trial, was the commander of the long-range aviation of the Aerospace Force, and the Russian commander Sokolov was the then commander of the Black Sea Fleet. The International Criminal Court said that there were responsible grounds to believe that 2 Russian commanders were responsible for missile strikes carried out by the forces under their command against Ukrainian electrical infrastructure between at least October 10, 2022 and at least March 9, 2023. Under the Geneva Conventions and additional protocols shaped by the international courts, attacks on civilian objects are prohibited. States that violate this prohibition can be persecuted by international courts. The announcement by the International Criminal Court constitutes the second attempt to arrest Russian officials linked to the war in Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin and his Children's Commissioner Maria Lvova-Belova have faced war crimes allegations linked to the abduction of the Ukrainian children, which the Kremlin denies. An arrest warrant was issued following work on this issue. Russian President Vladimir Putin faces the possibility of arrest if he travels to any of the countries that have signed the Convention of the International Criminal Court. The U.S. administration is also closely following the war and the investigations. According to Kyiv officials, Sokolov was reportedly killed in the Ukrainian missile attack on the Black Sea Fleet's headquarters in the Sevastopol in September 2023, but a video later claimed to show him talking to the military leaders. And the White House has not commented on whether Sokolov has been confirmed to be alive. Wayne Jordash, a British lawyer commissioned by the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office to analyze crime against humanity in the Russian-Ukrainian war, commented, He said that reports on Russian war crimes should be submitted to the US Congress before a vote on supporting the $60 billion aid package for Ukraine. The Ukrainian army's clashes with the Russian army continues at the same pace. Although political developments have the capacity to directly affect the war, the main factor of the influence is the front line. And on the front line, things seem to be very active in recent days. The information obtained shows that the Ukrainian army has completed another successful operation. The Ukrainian Ministry of Defense shared a video on its social media account the other day. The 17-second aerial footage shared by the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense on social media was recorded by Ukraine's 92nd Assault Brigade. According to the footage, the tank was destroyed by the Kiev's forces near Robotin. After the tank was destroyed, another image shows a tank enflocked in the flames in the area. The T-90 tanks destroyed by the Ukrainian armed forces are the main battle tanks used by the Russian army in the ongoing war in Ukraine. The cost of the Russian tanks surprises people because they are quite expensive. It costs about $4.5 million to produce a new model of T-90 tank. For this reason, the Russian army, whose combat losses are increasing, has difficulty in replacing them. It was quite remarkable that the Ukrainian army destroyed the expensive Russian tank using a simple drone. The Ukrainian army focuses on making the most efficient use of the means at its disposal. For this reason, it is trying to inflict the greatest damage to the Russian occupation with the least cost. New developments in international politics and on the front line are expected in the coming days, and the war is still ongoing and the sides continue their mutual attacks. It seems that the soldiers really have a different motivation, and there are many statements from the Ukrainian soldiers saying that they will not return until their country is liberated from the occupation. What do you think about the arrest warrant for the Russian commanders? Do you think that the international legal system is working properly? What do you think about the future of the war? What do you think about the Russian tank destroyed by the Ukrainian army? What do you think the consequences of Russia's rising cost of loss could be? I care about your opinion. Please share it with us.